what everybody has been speaking about, the Essence Festival. That is also very important. The Essence Festival. You know, Essence is extremely important to our cousins, African Americans, who are descendants of our formerly enslaved African ancestors. And from what is happening, I agree wholeheartedly with our African American brothers and sisters who are complaining about the Africanization of Essence. I agree with the sentiments of our African American brothers and sisters who are complaining about the takeover of Essence by a one-sided vision that want to completely transform Essence, the Essence Festival that is, into a medium where it's tilted towards continental Africans. I think that is wrong. It's very wrong the way the management of Essence is going about this. You know, ever since our ancestors were chartered out of Africa as slaves into the New World, North, South America, the Caribbeans, for 400 years, the descendants of our ancestors have cultivated a new culture that is a black culture based on the foundational culture or based on the remnants of the foundational culture that our ancestors brought over as slaves. So the descendants of our ancestors have created a new African culture out of the foundational continental African culture where they came from. So we have to celebrate the African American culture that came out of the African culture of our formerly enslaved ancestors and celebrate it as such. African American culture is distinct and unique. It's black culture, yes. It has African foundations, yes. But it is still an African American culture. Caribbean culture is based on the African foundational culture that our ancestors brought from Africa into Jamaica, into Haiti, into Brazil, into Colombia, into Cuba. But that does not change the fact into Brazil, into Colombia, into Cuba. But that does not change the fact that the Caribbean culture does not change the fact that the Caribbean culture or the Jamaican culture is unique. The Haitian culture is unique. And we have to celebrate this global African culture, respecting the diversity within it. For instance, an African cultural show like Essence in Africa, you cannot go to Ghana and try to create a platform where the culture of the people of Ghana is going to be supplanted and taken over by the culture of the people from, say, Igbo in Nigeria, or the culture of the people, say, Kikuyu from Kenya. You have to bring out the culture of the Ghanaian people, the Twi, the Ashanti. Then now, you as an Igbo or Yoruba or Kikuyu or Zulu, you can add onto that and showcase the entire culture. But in a case where you have Africans who took over Essence, who bought it over, I think it's a Liberian who actually bought over Essence, you cannot totally Africanized Essence and highlight more the African culture within Essence and neglecting the culture that actually created Essence in the first place, which is the culture of our African American cousins. Essence has to be in the highlight of the African American cultural expression, not continental African cultural expression. Just like if you have reggae or you have dance hall in Jamaica, right? We have great reggae musicians in Africa. We got great dancehall musicians in Africa, but you cannot overshadow dancehall and reggae in a festival in Jamaica with African dancehall and African reggae, if you know what I mean by that. Same like rumba that come out of Haiti. So we have to respect the diversity of our cultures. Our culture as black people around the world, continental Africans, African Americans, and African diaspora at large, is the most beautiful culture in the world. But unfortunately, we fail to understand that when we don't respect and celebrate the diversity of our culture, other groups of people like Europeans or whoever come and exploit us all together. So we have to learn how to give space to the cultural expression of our brothers or our cousins all over the world. Let's celebrate our diverse identity as people of African descendants. People of African descendants. Because Africa is not one country. It's a continent with thousands of cultures in it. And today we have our African American brothers and sisters who have developed a new culture out of the foundational culture that came from our enslaved ancestors. So we as Africans cannot come to America and try to overshadow the African American culture that is created within the space of our formerly enslaved African ancestors. So I want to tell every African, please, continental Africans for that matter, we are 1.5 billion of us in the continent. We have to learn how to respect and give space to the new African cultures that have been created in the diaspora out of the struggles of our formerly enslaved African ancestors. That is why I support the sentiment of our fellow African American cousins about the way Essence is transforming itself, because Essence is one of the highlights of African American cultural experience that we all have to celebrate, that the descendants of our ancestors created this wonderful culture that the whole world admires. So we all have to be proud as black people, as Africans from the continent, as Africans from the Caribbean. We have to be proud of our African American cousins for creating this new black culture that is admired by the rest of the world. It is our culture too, but we have to allow them the space to be the one to actually express it. Just like I am Igbo, okay? I am Igbo from the Gulf of Guinea, from the Bight of Biafra. I love my Igbo culture, but I also love Kikuyu culture. I love Ashanti culture. I love Zulu culture, right? I cannot act Zulu culture. I cannot act as if I'm a Zulu man because I am an Igbo man. But I respect and love the Zulu culture. So I will allow my Zulu brothers from South Africa, from Azania, to culturally express their Zulu culture. I will allow my African American brothers and sisters to express their African American culture. I will express my Igbo culture. At the end of the day, is global African people's commonwealth. You understand what I'm saying? So let's allow black folk around the world to culturally express themselves based on the socio-economic, cultural, and political dispensation wherever they live. I'm an Igbo man. I cannot pretend to be a Zulu man. I cannot pretend to be a Kikuyu. I cannot pretend to be a Yoruba. Right? So if I'm an Igbo man, why should I pretend to be an African American? African Americans are my cousins, but they have a distinct culture that came out of my ancestors. So let them, I admire the African American culture because that culture is something that was born out of the struggles of our ancestors that were enslaved. This is what I'm saying. Because at the end of the day, when you take the totality of our culture as black people around the world, if we unite and respect the diversity of black culture around the world, then we transform that culture into an economic engine. We take over the world. So, as I said, I respect cultural expressions from the people that give birth to the culture. But we still have to find a way to bring all of our culture under one tent so we can celebrate it and take over the world. Because at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, black culture globally is the most powerful culture that can transform into economic and political independence, emancipation for all our people. So if you are an African American, practice your African American culture, which is a black culture. If you are Igbo, practice your Igbo culture, which is a black culture. If you are Jamaican, practice your Jamaican culture, which is a black culture. If you are Haitian, practice your Haitian culture, which is a black culture. But we bring all this culture together to get a powerful punch. Germans practice German culture, Bavarians. English practice English culture. The French practice French culture. The Russians practice Russian culture. But at the end of the day, they are all Europeans. They use their total European culture to capture the entire world. So we can use our black cultures from all over the world, bring it together to capture the world. But let everybody play a role that they understand within their cultural expression. So my advice, where black people are not West Indians. Somebody wrote West Indians. We are not West Indians. Our sisters and brothers in the Caribbean, they are not West Indians. They are Afro-Caribbeans. I don't want to use that word West Indians because that word was used by Europeans to describe black people. That is absolutely wrong. They are Afro-Caribbeans. So, my point is, let's allow our people to practice their culture wherever they are around the world. But we must have a greater understanding on how to use our cultures from around the world to build a commonwealth, because we are all missing the point with these diaspora wars. We are missing the point. For instance, currently we have an Igbo man like me, who lives in Ghana. He goes to Ghana, he buys this huge amount of land. Instead of this guy building a community, a commercial community that everybody can come and participate in building a commonwealth, he is trying to build an Igbo kingdom in Ghana and call himself a king. That is wrong. That is wrong. Let him just be an investor as an Igbo man in Ghana. He cannot go and build a new kingdom within other people's cultural space. That causes conflict. That causes conflict. If you want to be an Igbo king, go and be an Igbo king in Omofia, Onitsha, Enugu, Abia, Arochukwu. Don't go and be an Igbo king in the Volta region in Ghana. You can be a community leader, but not a king. Because words have different meaning for different people in different spaces, geographical spaces. So my point that I was trying to make is this. I came to talk about Essence. I know Essence, the management has been bought by an African. The director of Essence is an African. Respect the African-American culture, which was birthed out of the struggles of our formerly enslaved African ancestors. Give African-Americans the space to culturally express themselves. We all take pride in the African-American culture because it's a black culture that has actually projected itself around the world, and the whole world loves the culture. Afrobeats. The whole world loves Afrobeats. Davido, Burna Boy, Wizkid. So think about if African Americans were trying to take over Afrobeats or trying to take over African culture, or Jamaicans. Africans will be saying the same thing that African Americans are trying to pretend as if they are Afrobeat founders and stuff like that, right? So let's give space to each other so we can practice our culture, then come together with all of our cultures and project this beautiful black culture around the world and create a commonwealth with all of our cultures. And one of the things that I want to mention before I leave to some of our African American brothers and sisters and some of our continental African brothers and sisters and Caribbeans, this is not about fighting for black identity. FBA, ADOS, Nigerian. The whole idea why I'm on social media is to create a commonwealth for black people around the world. If you are not interested in the Commonwealth and you are only engaging in diaspora wars, you have lost the plot. Because Europeans from Europe, the French, the British, the German, the Russians, even the Asians, they are all about their Commonwealth, European Commonwealth. And we are fighting for these useless, fictitious identities and forgetting to know that we black people, we have the best culture in the world. We have the most natural resources and human resources in the world. And we are fighting over nonsense, idiocy, while other people are exploiting our natural and human resources to build their own commonwealth. We should be focused on our commonwealth. We should be focused on building a global black commonwealth, utilizing our enormous human and natural resources instead of having these diaspora wars and running away from our ancestors and creating these new identities that delineate ourselves and weaken our power only to go back and serve the very people who are sworn to create our demise economically and politically around the world. This is our problem. Someone's going to be running there. We are ADOS, we are FBA, we are Nigerian, we are Ghana. You have missed the plot. White folk in America, they don't give a damn if they are from Germany. They don't give a damn if they are from France. They don't give a damn if they are from Holland. They don't care if they are from Russia. They don't care if they are from Czechoslovakia. White folk in America don't give a damn. As long as they are in America, they are just white Americans who want to make sure that they control the economic and political power of the country. You can't fault them for that, for their unity. As a matter of fact, you might not like European Americans, white folk, but you cannot disagree that their unity is their strength. So if we start breaking off ourselves and delineating ourselves, we become weaker. We become useful idiots for other people who are building a commonwealth. So you have a global white commonwealth, global European commonwealth, you have global Asian commonwealth, you have global Arab commonwealth. The only people on this planet that don't have a commonwealth is black folk. Because we break up ourselves, so we don't have a commonwealth. Even the continent of Africa that have the most natural resources than any other continent in the world, that we can use it to build a strong commonwealth foundation, because we have breaked up ourselves, fighting amongst ourselves out of nonsense. We don't have the capacity to build a commonwealth. We don't have nowhere to run to. Everywhere we are just helping other people build their own commonwealth instead of building our own. So stop this nonsense with FBA and ADOS, and stop this nonsense. Let's focus on our global commonwealth. That is the only way we're going to be respected. We're not going to be respected as FBAs. We're not going to be respected as Nigerians. We're not going to be respected as Jamaicans. We're not going to be respected as Haitians. We're not going to be respected as African Americans. We're going to be respected as black people who are united around the world. Chinese are respected today because Chinese people are united around the world, so they are respected. So if you divide yourself in small groups, nobody's going to respect you. No other group going to respect you because you don't have no power, no economic power, no political power, no military power, no social power. Even your own culture that you think you own, other people are making more money out of our culture than ourselves because we don't have no unity. And I don't believe in unity without practical vision. That is why I created African Commonwealth. And that is why I created cooperatives, farmers cooperatives. I don't believe in talking. I'm talking to you, but I'm doing stuff. I'm doing stuff on the ground that has global ramifications for black people. I'm doing my part. We all, when we talk, we must walk the talk. Talk, but walk the talk. I am walking the talk. I don't just come on social media, on TikTok and talk to you. I am walking it. I have a network of farmers across the continent. I am the global director of the first Pan-African Farmers Cooperative. That is the things that we need to do. Walk the talk. Don't just come here and keep shouting and talking and delineating yourself and becoming a useful idiot to our sworn enemies. Because that is what most of us have become as black people around the world. We have become useful idiots to the very people who are actually sitting on top of our necks. We are useful idiots. The vast majority of black people in the continent of Africa and outside Africa are useful idiots. It's a fact. We shouldn't be ashamed to say it, that most of our people have become useful idiots. And the overwhelming majority of them became useful idiots because of religious indoctrinations. Religious indoctrination created the largest population of useful idiots among black population. So, that is where I am. So don't get it twisted when you see my name, Apostle Obi. I am not the kind of apostle that you think about. The apostle that you people know, I am not one of those. When I close my eyes to pray, God comes to my vision looking like my grandfather. When I close my eyes and I evoke the Spirit of God, if he doesn't look like my grandfather, I stop praying. For those of you who are intelligent, you will know what that statement means. If God doesn't look like my grandfather, I don't worship that kind of God. Any God that comes in my spiritual vision who don't look like my grandfather, forget it. That's not my God. So if you are intelligent, you can decipher from that statement and know exactly who you are talking to. My mentality. So this is where we are. I am the one who took over this type of the gospel of African self-reliance into the continent. The gospel of African self-reliance. With only two blessings. The blessings of life and the blessings of land. Land and life. We got that already. But we allow other people to steal it from us. Steal our life, steal our land, and dominate us. Then we keep praying to God every day, disturbing God's peace. Because basically that's what black people are doing around the world. Black people in Africa and in the diaspora, they are disturbing God's peace. Praying every day and shouting every day, disturbing God's peace. When you already have the blessings of life and land. So, That's where I end today. I just wanted to talk about the essence stuff and let you all know that, that's where we are. So thank you all very much. I'll talk to everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.